What's up, kings and queens? It's your boy Dan from Daft Previews, and I'm here to take you through a comprehensive NBA player prop preview for the Nuggets vs. Timberwolves game. If it's your first time checking out the channel, I'll let you know I do this every single day. I share my screen, we go through outline, I take you through all the key players, we talk about their matchups, the odds for their picks, their form lines, what I like, what I don't, and I do all this to give you all the information that you need to make the best bets possible. Now, I had a somewhat decent day yesterday, 2-on-2 on straight bets. We cashed Zubac over in his first quarter points, which was plus money to the max. We hit Derek Lively to cover his points props. That was a pretty good sweaty bet. Lucky they were fouling in the last quarter, but we had some losses too. Faded Donovan Mitchell, took him under 2.5 3-pointers. It was looking good all game. Then he hit his last 3-pointer with about a minute left to go. And it took Zubac under 9.5 rebounds. And as soon as Maxi Kleber went off injured, I knew that bet was smoked. We talk about our BAP, which is our bitch-ass parlay. I hesitated a little bit there. Didn't want to say the B word, but I did anyway. Bitch-ass parlay. Fell one leg short, took Donovan Mitchell unders, and he went over. So it was close, but no cigar. For today's video, I'll do what I normally do. I'll preview everything. For my picks, check the pinned comment after you've watched the video because it's going to take me some time to get that shit done. I'll have some straight bets. We'll have a nice juicy parlay for this game, and we'll even have some value plays where you put a little bit of money and hopefully you win a lot. But if that sounds interesting, let's go. So we're jumping down to Outlier. Never heard of Outlier before. It is the best tool to find props. NBA, MLB, NHL, NFL, college basketball, and WNBA. I'm going to be using the crap out of this. And if you want to try it out, free 7-day trial in the video description below. Now let's talk about this game. Timberwolves versus Nuggets. Now, firstly, Denver, 4.5-point favorites at home. Jamal Murray is a game time decision in this game. They played each other 4 times in the season this year, and they split it 2-2. So very tightly contested game. My personal thoughts, if you like lines sides, I probably lean to the Timberwolves plus 4.5. The Nuggets pretty much had a gentleman's sweep of the Lakers, but a lot of those games were quite competitive. This Timberwolves team, much better than that Lakers team. Should keep it even closer. And 4.5, I think that's quite a bit. So I'd be leaning on the Timberwolves, but you know I don't bet sides. We bet player props. So let's jump straight in, shall we? Now, firstly, looking at Outlier, so it's giving us the players with the best hit rate, right? That's how it defaults to the top. I like to muck around with these settings. Let's go minus 150 as the lowest, the worst odds that we'll take. And then Outlier is going to give us the best props available. So what we see today, Anthony Edwards. So his first quarter assist prop's got a pretty good hit rate over the last 10 games. We'll start with Anthony Edwards and we'll get through some other players. But Ant Edwards, the next face of the NBA, he's gone over 1.5 assists in the first quarter in 8 out of his last 10 games. In head-to-head matchups, he's done it in 7 of his last 13. Last 2 games against Denver, 3 assists in the first quarter. I don't love that enough to take it, but it's not a bad start. Let's jump into his points prop. So his line's at 27.5. He's cashed this in 4 out of his last 10 games. Not great. Since the playoffs started, he cashed in 3 out of 5. He's had some massive games and he's had some pretty slow ones too. Now, if we look at the head-to-head form here against Denver, he's cashed this line in 6 of his last 13 games, averaging 26.6 points per game. Looking at this season, played the Nuggets 4 times. 24, 30, 25, and 25 those 4 games. Checking out his minutes, 31, 37, 39, and 35. Given it's the playoffs, we should expect to see a lot more from Ant Edwards. Just looking at that last series against Phoenix, he played 38.6 point minutes. A couple of blowouts in there, which reduced them. So given this, we expect this game to be tight. I think 40 minutes is a fair expectation here for Anthony Edwards. Now, he has played quite a few games where he's played 40 minutes against his squad. And I believe those were in the playoffs last year. So let's chat. Games against the against the Nuggets. Let's go with at least 38 minutes. All right. So he's had 5 games against Denver where he's played at least 38 minutes. He's covered this line in 4 out of those 5 games. This looks like a playoff series. 4 straight games where he went over this line. Absolutely killing it. So Anthony Edwards to go over his points. Shit, why not? I don't hate it. I got to tell you, I don't hate it. He is on the road though, but he's pretty much a superstar now, right? Doesn't matter if he's at home or if he's on the road. My man should be eating. He is the number one option after all. Looking at attempts, these are his attempts against Denver. So playoffs last year, a whole lot of attempts. But correct me if I'm wrong. Did Cat not get injured in last year's playoffs? There could have been no Cat in that game. Let me double check this. Let's go. Games with Karl-Anthony Towns versus Denver. So with Cat in the lineup, Cat was there. So Cat did play in that series. I must be getting old. So Cat playing is not an issue for us then. Good news. I like Anthony Edwards overs in points. So I'll put that on my list of leans. That's not too bad. Ant-Man. If we think about who's going to be defending him, we've got, I think, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope will probably be the primary defender, but I don't think he can stick with him for 40 minutes. So they're going to need somebody else. I don't know if Aaron Gordon's got the speed to hang with Anthony Edwards. Pretty tough matchup. He's got a lot of strength, I'd say, and explosiveness along with that speed. So I don't know if Denver have any guards equipped to defend Anthony Edwards, but that's his points prop. Let's check out the prop for assists. So his line is at 5.5 against Denver. He's only cashed this in 2 out of 13 games. But so far in this playoffs, he did cash in 3 out of the 5 against the Phoenix Suns, 11.5 potential assists. So against Denver, 7.6 potential assists. The ones I'm more, I'm not concerned, but I want to lock in on probably the last 4 games. So these are all this year. 4, 11, 9, 8 potential assists against the Denver Nuggets. I'd probably lean to the under on the assist prop here for Anthony Edwards. This Denver team much better defensively than the Phoenix Suns. If you just look at how they defended on the season, they allowed the 9th fewest assists to shooting guards on the year. And Edwards covered this line 1 out of 4 games against them throughout this season. So I'd probably lean to the under. That's minus 102, so the odds aren't bad. I cash in 11 of 13 games. I also cash in 63% of games this year. So I don't mind that. Just quickly checking his last 5 potential assists. Yeah, 11.5 potential assists in those games. And he cashed this line 3 times. So I'd lean to them for Anthony Edwards, but I don't think I'm going to bet on that. Rebound wise, we've got 5.5. So he cashed that in 4 out of 5 games against Phoenix. If we look at the games against Denver, he's cashed in 6 out of 13 so far this season. 1 out of 4 games he's gone over this. The Denver Nuggets allow the 2nd fewest rebounds to shooting guards on the season. Anthony Edwards did have some success when they played in the playoffs last year, covering in 3 out of 4 games. So, yeah, honestly, I wouldn't put it past him to go over his rebound prop. The numbers probably indicate to an under, but I would probably look at an over. But at the same time, I'm not overly keen on it. Let's check his 3-point prop out. It's 2.5. Last 5 games, he's cashed this in only 2 out of 5. So not a very reliable 3-point shooter. Well, 41% is not too bad, but his volume is somewhat inconsistent. So obviously his preference is get to the rack. And if he can't, he'll pull up. So versatile players like that, yeah, it's too difficult to get them on a 3-point prop. So yeah, and Edwards, I don't mind his points prop. I think that's all right. 27.5. My man's big time up against the reigning champs. Let's go. Now we're looking at Rudy Gobert. Outlier obviously has filtered out the plays with the highest hit rate. So for this particular one, it's points plus assists. Now Rudy's hit this in 8 of his last 10 games, 14.5 points plus assists. And if we look at the head-to-head matchup, he's hit this in 7 of his last 11 against Denver. This season, he covered this line in 3 out of 4 games. So interesting look here for Rudy. All right, sweet, Rudy. Let's check your points prop out real quick. All right, we're looking at 13.5 points for Rudy, 6 out of his last 11 against Denver this year. He's only played them 3 times, 4, 21, and 13 points. Last year's playoff series, Rudy covered his points line in all 4 games. So that's a very interesting look. Obviously, he played a lot of minutes. Looking at attempts in those games last year, 11, 10, 14, and 6, very high percentages. The ones this year, 7, 8, and 7. So volume not necessarily there. Looking at his more recent games, obviously he scored quite well against Phoenix. 4 out of the 5 games. Took less than 10 shots in every single game. Was sent to the free throw line a lot, though. I don't think he's going to get those types of free throws here against Denver. He's going to have to take more shots in order to cover this line, I think. So, yeah, I don't love it. But, look, if Rudy cashes in this first game, might be a good look to take his overall series, provided it stays under 14.5 points, because based on the head-to-head stuff, more than capable of scoring against Jokic. Done it many times before. So let's see how this Minnesota Timberwolves play their offense. Looking at Rudy's rebounds, though, 12.5 is the line for Rudy. 6 of his last 10 against the Suns, only had 2 strong rebounding games with 16 and 14, averaging 10.2 rebounds in those games. In head-to-head matchups against Denver, 4 out of his last 11 he's covered this line. Played them 3 times this year, 12, 12, and 15 boards for Rudy. So not overly disappointing. If we look at the playoffs last year, 13, 8, 10, and 15. So yeah, I'd probably say 10 rebounds as part of an alternate line parlay, Rudy, we can go for, but I don't necessarily love the rebound line here for Rudy. So it could honestly go either way. So I'm not too confident in that. Who else do we have on the list? Sticking with these Minnesota Timberwolves. Karl-Anthony Towns. My guy. This line is at 18.5. 18.5. Outlier calling it a play. Now let's talk about it. So Cat, he's only covered this line in 3 out of his last 10 games. Not great. Only 2 out of the 5 games against Phoenix. But what we can see is there's a 7-game stretch here where his minutes were real low. Got injured in this game, came back. So first 5 games coming back from an injury, didn't get even close to 30 minutes. So minutes were quite capped. Then that very last game against Phoenix to close it out, 38.8 minutes for Karl-Anthony Towns. So I'm really hoping that Karl-Anthony Towns gets back to playing his full complement of minutes, and then he can get back to pumping some lines out. Now check this out. Last 6 games against Denver, he's covered this line 3 times. Played them once this season, scored 21 points. Minnesota won that game. In last year's playoffs, what do we see? 2 out of the 5 games. Looking at his minutes, though. So in 30 minutes, 21, 38, 26. So, yeah, if the minutes are going to be there, I definitely like this play for Karl-Anthony Towns. Checking his numbers on the year, though, we've got 32.4 minutes as an average. And he obviously had that stretch of games where he didn't play too many minutes because he's coming back from an injury. Let's muck around with the filters for a little bit. You guys probably would have seen my YouTube short, but let's just say Karl-Anthony Towns plays at least 30 minutes in this game. I think that's a safer bet. And he's done that in games this year. He's covered this line at 80%, 36 of 45 games when he plays at least 30 minutes. So yeah, if the minutes are there, I think Karl-Anthony Towns is a great shot. If we look at the head-to-head numbers, these are the numbers when Karl-Anthony Towns plays at least 30 minutes against Denver. 3 out of 5, averaging 20.2 points per game, 21 points in their last game. So again, it's all looking pretty good. So I do like the over here for Karl-Anthony Towns. The only risk, well, there's 2 risks. There's 2 risks that I see for this Karl-Anthony Towns play, and you got to be aware of it. One, Aaron Gordon is a defender. Excellent defender, has the strength, probably not the size to do with Karl-Anthony Towns, but he's got the speed and he has the strength to do so. He's a great defender, but I think Karl will be okay. I think the biggest risk to this play for Karl-Anthony Towns is foul trouble. So if you didn't know this already, when the Timberwolves played Denver, Karl-Anthony Towns is the player that defends Jokic. Rudy Gobert most likely defends Aaron Gordon. And if Karl-Anthony Towns finds himself in a foul trouble, which honestly is likely to happen, not likely, but it can happen because this fucker finds fouls like nobody's business. I think that's the biggest risk to this bet. But 18.5 points, is an outside shooter, can get real streaky, can get it done very quickly. So I do like this play for Karl-Anthony Towns. I do not like Karl-Anthony Towns, a zesty ass motherfucker, but I think this play is a good one. So I've shared this as a short. It was on Player Prop Shop, but it's something that I also support. So let's go, Cat. Now let's talk about his rebound prop. We're looking at 7.5 here. He's cashed this in 5 out of 6 games against the Denver Nuggets, which is great. If we look at his last 10 games, Karl-Anthony Towns, 5 out of his last 10, but we know that these minutes are all jacked up. So let's muck around with these minutes and look at games where he only plays 30 minutes and see what we get. All right, 7 out of his last 10 games where he plays at least 30 minutes, he's cashed this. So 70%, averaging 8.6. In his games where he plays 30 minutes against Denver, he's cashed this in 4 out of the 5 games. The game he went under, he finished with 7 boards. So shit, I even like the rebounds here for Karl-Anthony Towns. Let's go. So something that you could potentially look at is points plus rebounds. That's at 25.5. So that's cashed in 4 out of his 4 consecutive games against Denver, actually. it actually makes up for the one game where he didn't cover the 18.5 points because he smashed his rebounds out the park. So I think the points plus rebounds could be a good look here. Last 10, let's do the same filter of 30 minutes. And we still see 7 out of his last 10 games on the season, 36 out of 45. So it doesn't change too much from his points prop. But yeah, I don't mind the points plus rebounds. I might just run the points and we'll get a same game parlay for Karl-Anthony Towns to go maybe 20 points and 8 rebounds or something like that. We'll see what we can come up with, but I don't mind that. Let's check his assist numbers out. His line's at 2.5. In his last 10, he's covered this 5 times. And in head-to-head matchups, 2 of his last 6. He did cover it in his last 2, though. But yeah, cap for assists, averaging only 5 potential assists. And we need 3. You'd have to get real that one, so I'm not feeling it. All right, who else have we got? Mike Conley. I think I like his points prop too. God damn. All right, let's check this out. Mike Conley, 11.5 points. I did bet this a few times in the Phoenix Suns matchup, which was pretty good. He cashed in 3 out of the 5. He averaged 12.8 points per game in that series. If we look at the head-to-head numbers, though, check this out. My boy loves Denver. 7 out of 9 games, Mike Conley has covered this points prop here against the Denver Nuggets. Look at his numbers, averaging only 9.1 field goal attempts per game, but he's shooting 55% from the field, 54% from downtown. They're just leaving him wide open, which makes sense. If you've got Cat and you've got Anthony Edwards going crazy, Mike Conley, you're probably going to leave him alone. So, yeah, I do like the Mike Conley play too. Shit, that's not too bad. Because if we look at the last 5 against the Phoenix Suns, 10.6 attempts, right? So it's almost 2 attempts more than he normally takes against Denver. And against Denver, he shoots a higher percentage from the field, higher percentage from downtown. So I think that's ticking some boxes for me. I think what this means, right? I've got on my list, I've got Anthony Edwards, Karl-Anthony Towns. I went through Gobert, Rudy's, and I didn't mind that one either. And I do like Conley's as well. Something's got to be eliminated here. And I think it might be Anthony Edwards points. So I'm probably not going to play that. I'm going to remove that from my list. I'm not going to fall into the Anthony Edwards hype. It could happen, but we want to win some bets here. So Mike Conley and Cat, I do like a little bit better than Ant to cover their lines. But let's talk about Mike Conley's assists. 5.5 is the line. He cashed in 3 out of the 5 games against Phoenix. If we look at head-to-head matchups, 5 out of 9 against Denver. So playoffs last year, yeah, pretty good hit rate. This year, not so good. So I don't necessarily love Conley's assist prop. I wouldn't take the under, that's for sure. But I don't love it. This is his. So he's covered 2.5 rebounds in 5 consecutive games against Denver. And if we look at his last 5 games, he covered this in every single game against the Phoenix Suns. So 6.3 rebound chances on average. Against Denver, 6.7 rebound chances. You only need 3 boards. I like this one too. So I'm not going to bet this as a straight bet, but I think that could be part of a value play for Mike Conley. Let's get busy with it. Now, for those of you playing fantasy sports, prize picks, chalkboard, underdog, or whatever it is, if you see Mike Conley on there for 2.5 rebounds, take the more. I think that's a good play. As a straight bet, probably not the best one. The odds aren't terrific, but for fantasy, let's go. All right. Who else do we have? We got, let's look at Jaden McDaniels real quick. I think he's in there to play some defense. Probably get the task of slowing Michael Porter Jr. down, if anything, but let's take a look at it. So his points prop, what are we seeing here? 9.5. He's hit this in 4 of his last 10. Had 2 good games against Phoenix. In head-to-head matchups, he's got it done against Denver in the past. 5 out of 8 games against Denver, but field goal attempts, not very high, but again, we only need 9.5 points, right? Which we need 5 buckets. So you'd like to see at least maybe 10 attempts. He's taken 9 attempts per game, but those numbers are pulled down by these 2 games here. So this year he's played the Nuggets 4 times and he cashed this in 2 of those games. But yeah, I think this is a wait and see. Let's see how he plays in this first one. Might take him at some point in the series, but it won't be right now. Let's now have a look at Naz Reid off the bench. 6th man of the year, I think. I'm not too sure. I'm pretty sure. Naz Reid. Let's check him out. 8.5 points is his line. What did he do in this playoffs? 3 out of 5 games against Phoenix he covered in. What's he doing in head-to-head matchups? 4 out of 6 games against Denver, Naz Reid has covered his point line of 8.5. God damn. So it's not too bad. Minutes somewhat inconsistent though. Against Phoenix, he's pretty much locked into about 18 minutes per game. If we look at the head-to-head numbers where he plays, let's just go 15 and 20. Between 15 and 20 minutes. He's done that once against Denver and he scored 16 points. So, yeah, the minutes, if you're looking at trends, he played a lot of games with less than 15 minutes and games where he got more than 20. I think he probably plays 15 to 20 minutes. So tough to get a good read here on Naz Reid. I didn't do that on purpose. His rebound line, 2.5. You fucking real? And I get it. He'll be coming off the bench. Probably not going to get too many chances, but he has covered this in 5 or 6 games against Denver in the past. He's managed to cover it in the games where he played less than 15 minutes too. And he's nailed it in the game where he had 19 minutes. So, the rebound prop, not too bad for Naz Reid. This is probably one of the big things you could look at. If you look at the last 5, though, where he is playing the type of minutes, I think he only covered it in 2 games. So scratch that. Don't bet on Naz Reid rebounds. Actually, you can do whatever you want. I'm just not going to be betting on it. Let's jump into these Denver Nuggets. I want to start with Jamal Murray, though. So Jamal's a game time decision. Now, I'm not going to take the under because he's injured. I know that for sure. So still the left calf strain giving him some issues. This is his rebounds plus assist prop. It's an under 11.5. Outlier is filtering the best hit rates, and he's gone under 11.5 in 8 of his last 10. And against Minnesota, it's a 50% hit rate. So let's just dive a little bit deeper right now. So Jamal Murray in head-to-head matchups against Minnesota, his line's at 23.5. He's played them 3 times this year. He went under in all 3 games, 14, 18, and 20 points. It's below 32, 32, and 27, though, so I wouldn't make a big deal out of that. We do have the 4 to 5 games in the playoffs last year. Had some success against them, especially at home. So 2 games at home. Then the 2 games on the road, he went under. The home games is where Jamal Murray absolutely smoked these fools. So, yeah, because of that, I wouldn't take the under. I wouldn't bet the over, though, if I'm being honest with you. Struggled in that Lakers series. Had 1 good game to close it out. But, yeah, I'm not loving the points prop here for Jamal Murray. Looking at his assists. Against the Lakers, 3 out of the 5, 7.2 was an average. Lines at 6.5. I get it. In head-to-head matchups, he's covered this in 3 of his last 10 games against the T-Wolves. In the 3 games they played this year, 6, 11, and 6. So what I'm thinking here is we can probably take him down to 5 assists for a parlay. I think that could probably fit when we build this ultimate parlay. But, yeah, I don't know if I could take him at 7. But 5 assists, well, we can fuck around and find out. Why not? Looking at his rebound prop, 4.5. He cashed this in 3 or 5 games against the Lakers. 4.6 is an average. In head-to-head matchups against the Minnesota Timberwolves, he's cashed this in 4 out of his last 10 this year. 6, 4, and 4. So, I don't know, maybe 3 rebounds for the parlay. No, I wouldn't put 3 rebounds here for the parlay. I don't think we'll get much. But, yeah, Jamal Murray assists might be something we can get in that parlay. Let's get to the big dog. Woo, 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 woo. Nikola Jokic. So, Nikola Jokic, firstly, outlier doing the good. So, it looks like Nikola Jokic been killing first quarters as of late. So let's start there. First quarter points, 8 of his last 10 games, he's cashed 7.5. In head-to-head matchups, he's cashed in 8 of his last 12 games against the Minnesota Timberwolves. He played them 4 times this year, 13, 13, 4, and 11 points in the first quarter for Nikola Jokic. 8 out of 12, it's not bad. I'm going to put this on my short list. Could be something we look at. What was the other one? Quarter rebounds. I think that's got a good hit rate too. So, in his last 10, he's hit this 8 times. 8 of his last 10 games, he's had 3.5 rebounds or more. In head-to-head matchups, 8 of his last 12 games against the Timberwolves, he's cashed in. So, 3 out of the 4 this year. He happened to go under his points and rebounds in that same game here. Played 12 minutes in that quarter, went under his points, went under his rebounds. Finally did some cardio. So, I think for Nikola Jokic, we could just run to save some cash, just run a parlay. 8 rebounds, 8 points, 4 rebounds in the first quarter for Jokic. Then you don't have to bet so much on it because by the looks of it, if he's hitting one, he's hitting the other. But let's get into his props now. Points to the line. He has cashed this in his last 3 games against Minnesota. Just quickly looking at what he did in the Lakers. 2 out of the 5 games, he's cashed this line. And if we look at the Minnesota shit, what do we see? He's cashed this in 5 out of his last 6 games against the Minnesota Timberwolves, dating back to their series last year. In the regular season, he covered this 3 out of the 4 games against Minnesota. Minutes, pretty good, pretty decent minutes. Field goals, though, that's what I'm talking about. Against the Timberwolves, he shot 20 plus times, 6 games in a row. Compare that to the Lakers stuff. He shot the ball 20 plus times 3 times in that series. And in those games, 32, 33, and 25 points. So I think I mentioned it earlier. Rudy Gobert is not going to be the key defender here on Nikola Jokic, I don't believe. Karl-Anthony Towns will pick him up. And Gobert will be on the weak side, defending Aaron Gordon. So, yeah, Jokic, I think he's going to be aggressive. He's going to try to get Cat into foul trouble. It makes so much sense here. I don't mind the points prop. I got to tell you, I don't mind it. I don't know if I love it yet, but I don't mind it is one thing I'm saying. I think 25 for the parlay could be a good look. What's 25 cash? That's cash in 6 straight games. But, yeah, I don't know if I love the 27.5. I think that could be a popular play, though. But one thing to keep in mind, this is the playoffs, it may not go the way that it does in the regular season. One thing to think about here. At home, though, you could definitely get it done. I just wonder if Jamal Murray was missing in some of these games too. Let me just check. Games with Jamal Murray. No, he was there for most of them. 5 out of the last 6. Okay. Let me know what you guys think, because the numbers look good here for Nikola Jokic. I don't know. I just got this feeling. I'm going to dive into that a little bit further, but let's see where I land. Looking at his assist prop, though. 8.5. He cashed this in 4 out of the 5 games against the Lakers. The assist gold. What was he getting? 15.6 potential assists. Against Minnesota, he's cashed this in 50% of the games. He's gone under in his last 4 games. And it makes sense if he's shooting the ball 20 to 25 times. You can see his potential assists in those last 5 games. They're down in those head-to-head matchups. So, yeah, I think I don't know. I think the under in his assists is the wave, and that's because I think the points are the way. That's just where my head's at. And look, this could be another aggressive same-game parlay that we put together. Jokic over his points, under his assists, perhaps, because there's a good correlation there. Let's check his rebounds prop out, see if we can get something out of it. 12.5. He cashed this in 4 out of the 5 games against the Lakers, averaging 16 rebounds a game, which is crazy. 25 rebound chances. Now, in head-to-head matchups with Denver, not the same. 19.3 rebound chances, though. So 6 rebound chances less than what he just had in the Lakers series. He covered this line in 3 of the 12 games against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Once this season, 1 out of 4 games. In the playoffs last year, he cashed this in 2 out of 5 games. So, yeah, I don't necessarily love the rebound prop here for Nikola Jokic. More than capable of going over, don't get me wrong. But, yeah, I don't necessarily love it, that's for sure. So, I might fuck around with an under for the value play here for Jokic, because that's where I'm leaning. But let's see where I land. But, hey, a lot of Jokic shit about to go down. Right, who else we got? We got Michael Porter Jr. Now, I did see a few posts of people under in rebounds. Let me see if I can find the reason why. So, firstly, his points prop 17.5. 7 out of his last 10 he's cashed. 6 straight games he's cashed this points against the Lakers. Absolutely giving it to them off 5 straight games. My bad. I can't count. In those games, a lot of minutes. Pretty consistent with his field goal attempts, but a very high percentage for MPJ. Now, if we look at the stuff he's done against Minnesota, 7 of his last 13 he's covered. He's played them 4 times this year. He covered twice, once at home, once on the road. His field goal attempts, a little bit lower, but it is regular season. But what you can see here is there's been some games where that field goal percentage is terrible. So he's in much better form at the moment, but at the same time, the Minnesota Timberwolves, they got some defenders out there and they got some length. So I'm assuming Jaden McDaniels will be chasing MPJ around if he's not chasing Ant around, and has potential to slow him down. So I'm not going to be betting the points prop here for Michael Porter Jr. Let's look at his rebound line though. 7.5 is plus money, so that's a little bit sus because this line got up to 8.5 against the Lakers. So let's check it out. Last 5. So this is the Lakers series. 4 out of the 5 games, averaging 8.4 rebounds, 11.4 rebound chances. Now, against Denver, he's only cashed this in 4 out of 13 games. 1 out of the 4 games this year, and 3 out of the 5 games in the playoffs last year. He's averaging 9.1 rebound chances against them, and he needs to get 8 rebounds. So that's not good. If you're looking at historical numbers, you probably lean to the under. If you look at recent form, you would lean to the over. If you're like me and you're looking for reasons not to take the bet, you don't bet either. So I'm going to have to pass on this. I want to see how this game plays, see who he defends, see who's defending him, see how many rebound chances he gets. Then we'll make a call on that on the next one. So, yeah, no bets for MPJ for me, but you guys might like something. Let's take a look at AG, Aaron Gordon. Now, I've just got this feeling of prop. I just got a feeling. So for him, oh God, he's that's steals and blocks. I was about to say his line's 1.5. Get the fuck out of here. We'll go points and then do his 3-pointers. So points, 13.5. He's cashed this in 5 of his last 10 against the Lakers, 2 out of the last 5. 13.8 points per game in that series, though. A lot of minutes, which is good. 10.6 field goal attempts per game. He did have that one monster game that kind of lifts the average. In head-to-head matches, he's covered this line in 50% of the games, averaging 12.6. Played the Timberwolves 4 times this year, 4, 14, 14, and 5. I would not bet the over. I think it'd be a pretty sweaty bet if you bet the under as well. So I'm not betting either way here for Aaron Gordon. But let's have a look at this 3-point prop. Okay. So for him to make 1 3-pointer, it's plus money. He's catching 50% of the games against the Timberwolves. Only 1 of the 4 games this season. Looking at his attempts, 33% from the field, 2.4 attempts per game against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Where it did cash somewhat decently was the playoffs last year, but he did take more attempts, right? So let's check that last 5 against the Lakers. Oh, he was terrible. 10% from the field, from 3-point range. So yeah, I don't like that. His recent form is ass. I think he'll take a couple of 3-pointers in this game. He might make one, but until he makes one, I'm probably not going to bet on it. But it's an interesting look because I think he's going to get a lot of free chances. I think if Rudy defends Aaron Gordon a lot of the time, Rudy's going to help on every single drive. They're going to leave Aaron Gordon open in the corner. Now, looking at his rebound line, 7.5 boards for Aaron Gordon, plus 130. It cashed in 3 out of the 5 games against the Lakers, 15 rebound chances. In head-to-head matchups, 3 out of 12 games against Minnesota, 1 out of 4 this year, and only 1 out of 5 in the playoffs last year. God damn. Only 10.9 rebound chances as an average for Aaron Gordon, 7.5 at plus 130. I can't help but lean to the unders on that, but this is minus 154. So this is another pick for you fantasy fuckers out there, prize picks, chalkboard, sleeper. I don't even know what they're called, to be honest. They're just the ones I hear sometimes. But if you're betting on one of those, under 7.5 boards for Aaron Gordon is a good look. All right, who else do we have to go through? There's not too much of the bench available here for the Denver Nuggets. Let's check out KCP real quick. Every time I think of KCP, I just think about that game he played with an ankle monitor. How gangster was that? Now, his points prop is 8.5. He cashed this in 2 of the 5 games against LA. In head-to-head matches up against Minnesota, pretty decent hit rate. 8 of his last 12, 2 out of the 4 games this year. Minutes, pretty up and down. I don't think it's worth a play, to be honest. Maybe his 3-pointers? What do you think? Let's take a look. Timberwolves, they allow the 3rd fewest 3-pointers in the league. He only cashed this in 2 out of the 5 games against LA and 4 of 12 games against Minnesota. So no. I do not want to bet that. Now, before I let you guys go, I've got a couple of things I want to say to you, so buckle up and listen. It's actually not too serious. Not many more things are more frustrating than losing a bet to an under. I get that. I lost a few bets yesterday by betting an under, and they happened to go over. Still getting that Zubac under 9.5 rebound prop wrong, that hurt more than the loss for Tobias Harris, which is weird. It's interesting the way that it makes you feel when you lose a bet like that. Comment stating don't bet unders anymore. I'm not going to do that. When a good bet presents itself and I think that it's value, I am going to bet it. Because put it this way, if you just take unders out of the equation for bets, I'm not going to bet unders anymore, you've automatically lost 50% of the opportunities that are in there in the market. So why do you do that to yourself? The other thing I don't do, since we're talking about losing opportunities, I don't have a banned list. Yeah, there's players I don't like, but I don't have a ban list because then you'd be doing the same thing. I've seen people's ban lists with like 10 plus players, and they ban those players because they lost a bet on that player. But you're doing the same thing. If you remove players and you put them on a banned list, you're losing opportunities in the market. That's what I wanted to say about that. The other thing is I saw a comment around the player prop shop because I mentioned it to you guys, trying to get it a little bit of exposure. And look, player prop shop and that team who put all those bets together are just like me or anybody else trying to create content and put bets out there online for people to use. They're not perfect, and they're going to get it wrong sometimes. And they did have a losing day the day after I promoted it. But you know what happened? They bounced back again. They went 4-2 on this recent slate. I went 2-2. So, and a lot of you guys trust me, which is great, by the way. A lot of you guys trust me and love the work that I do, but assume that they're doing more than I am. They have a full team of people doing these picks. I am just one man with a child and I rarely sleep and I don't drink water. I'm the unhealthiest man alive. I got my vape right here, but you guys trust me to make these picks. And I'm telling you, the team at Prop Shop, they're pretty decent fellas out there and they're doing a lot of good work. They went 4-2 yesterday. I only went 2. I'll be honest with you. I review their plays every single day and I take a little bit of the knowledge that they put in there and some of it I present out to you guys. So don't be so afraid to try them out. If you want to know, they do have a discount on a yearly subscription. I've already signed up to mine because I'm going to be using these guys for MLB, NHL, NFL, all the college stuff. They even do golf. Like if you're that desperate to get a bet in and you want some insights, go check them out. But the one thing I encourage you to do if you have signed up to the Player Prop Shop is do what you should be doing with the information that I give you. Do your own damn research first. Like double check a few things. At the end of the day, you're the person making the bet. They're just giving you information. They're giving you insights. You have to make a decision on whether you want to place that bet or not, and you have to be accountable for if it wins or loses, right? So do your own due diligence. Don't just follow every single pick there because nobody's perfect, right? But be sure to check them out. Other than that, I appreciate the support from you all. Like the video, sub to the channel if you haven't. I want to get 7,000 subscribers now. That's pretty unrealistic. We've got 500 more to go, but hopefully we can get in the next couple of weeks because the NBA season is running out of time. So get me to 7,000 subs. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Hope you loved it. Peace.
To the channel cause your boy's getting busy. Coming to your line from the west side of Sydney. We've got the free picks and the juice and the daily. It's all free, you don't even have to pay me.